He's back into it in Chester. Here's El Senior. Yes! Yes!
The center back, Jacob Glesnes, is going for it.
Oh my God! What a goal! And that will do it! One of the best comebacks in recent years. 3 unanswered by the Union. And they go into the Gold Cup break, winning it 3-2.
Hello and welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. And happy 1-year anniversary to the Philadelphia Union for their first ever playoff victory against the New York Pink Cows. Still remember that moment fondly in the rain. I mean, it's a moment, like I've said multiple times on this podcast, that you'll never forget. I mean, just what a crazy game, and it sucks that we'll never be able to have a packed stadium like that this year. But, at the same time, hey, at least we're able to go to games in 2020, and what a crazy game it was for the Union against the Revs. And yeah, I'm not ashamed to say, yeah, my prediction was wrong and everything. And we'll take 3 points on the road, and just what a jam-packed episode we have today. I can't wait to talk about the 2 huge topics that everybody's been talking about on social media. And I told you guys last episode, you guys got to wait till Tuesday/Wednesday. You want to hear my thoughts on Brenden Aaronson and the Supporters Shield getting canceled. So let's just go straight into the news. So I debated whether or not I should start with Aaronson first. Should I start with him second? And to keep this episode from going over, I'm just going to go over those 2 news topics. I'm sure there's probably other stuff that's happening in MLS, but both of these topics I can see going on for a very long time. And I'm just going to go ahead and get the Supporters Shield decision out of the way first. So as everyone has heard, like I said on social media, everybody's been talking about this. It was announced that the Supporters Shield Foundation, that they were canceling awarding the Supporters Shield for the 2020 season. And they released a statement that said, after much consideration and discussion, the Supporters Shield Foundation has decided to forego awarding the Supporters Shield for the 2020 season. This is not an easy decision to make, with the inability for supporters to be in attendance and fill their stadiums with passion. However, we feel as though the current climate goes against the spirit of the Shield. The SSF stands with our players and our supporters in knowing that this year has been one of many challenges, and we commend the support and effort given to making the best of the 2020 season as it has been. With no 2020 winner to house the Shield, we will be taking 2021 as means to spread the word and spirit of the Shield across the entire league. We look forward to educating supporters on the Shield's history and passion, as well as welcoming new supporter groups to MLS. As long as it can be safely done, the Supporters Shield will be going on tour in 2021 so that as many supporters as possible may be able to see and learn about this wonderful symbol of North American soccer. On behalf of the Supporters Shield Board, we hope everyone remains safe. We look forward to awarding the Shield to the winners of the 2021 season. So, first off, I just want to say that I never even knew that there was a Supporters Shield Foundation, nor did I know that there was an independent supporters council. And reading people's replies on Twitter, Instagram, wherever, Reddit, it seems like I wasn't the only one that knew that neither one of these foundations existed. So I think already that's pretty telling how important these 2 foundations, organizations, whatever you want to call them, it tells you how important they are. Point number 2. Apparently only 5 people on the SSF board voted for this decision, which is so laughable. You said that you included the decisions from all the supporters in MLS and everything. You went to the, look, I don't remember the name of it, even though I just said it to you, the Independent Supporters Council. You guys discussed this on Slack, apparently. Nobody knew about this. You had a whole bunch of Toronto fans come out and say, yeah, we never knew about this. Columbus fans came out and said, yeah, we never knew that we were taking a vote on this. The only fans that I see that are okay with this decision are Atlanta fans, New York Pink Cow fans, Portland, and I'm sure the teams out in LA are probably, oh yeah, this is the right decision. And why is that the right decision? Because minus Portland, all of those teams have been having a terrible season, and they're like, yeah, let's cancel the trophy. And uh, I mean, we saw so many. I mean, there's so much to talk about. So I'll get to quotes and everything. But so just doing research, I found out this, and I'm reading this from the Supporters Shield Wikipedia page. It said the Shield began to become more prized and grow in significance, along with "quote unquote" supporter culture growing throughout the league. The idea of creating a new Supporters Shield began at the MLS Supporters Summit during the 2010 MLS Cup in Toronto. The idea continued to gain traction at the then recently formed Independent Supporters Council (ISC). The following 2 years in Los Angeles and Portland, Oregon, the Supporters Shield Foundation was created out of the ISC meeting in Portland in 2012 with a mission to fund the creation of a new shield and then to promote and manage the trophy going forward. Yeah, it's really funny because, like I said a couple minutes ago, I never knew that ISC was a thing. I never knew SSF was a thing. And so many other people didn't know that these guys were a thing. And they start getting a whole bunch of backlash on social media. Everybody's like, yeah, let's hear from players. Let's hear from players and coaches. And yeah, it was all fans and everything. And so then a day passes after MLS announces, yeah, okay, well, you guys don't want to have the Supporter Shield. That's fine. We're still going to award first place with a Champions League berth. We're going to award the top seed in the MLS Cup playoffs and other bonuses. And so after MLS came out, released a statement after fans were just giving it to SSF on Twitter, on October 18th, the SSF released another statement that follows and says, MLS supporters and friends, we have seen and heard your reactions and responses to yesterday's announcement regarding the awarding of the Supporters Shield, and we wanted to make a few clarifications. The decision not to award the Shield is strange and unprecedented season was made by the board of directors of the SSF Foundation. The foundation is independent of the Independent Supporters Council and was established to govern the management and awarding of the Shield. In 2020, the schedule / matchup imbalances. Some teams play only 8 other teams while others play as many as 16. And the absence of fans in the stands for the majority of teams led to the decision to no Shield would accurately reflect the best performance over the course of the season. As a result, the foundation opted not to have any team win the Shield. We understand that this decision has been confusing and frustrating for many fans throughout the league. ISC representatives for MLS teams were notified several weeks ago of the decision, with the Shield Foundation statement finalized on the 16th, and Revs notified again of the final language. Any concerns or questions should be directed to the SSF at media@supportershield.org. And so what would you know? They come out, make a decision because they're getting all this backlash because people aren't happy. And then, out of all this, they come out with another statement, this time on October 19th, and it says, the Supporters Shield Foundation Board would like to provide an update. We are currently holding meetings with the supporter group representatives about the original decision in light of new information and feedback we have received. A public update will be forthcoming. Yeah, I don't know what new information that they would have found other than MLS, I'm sure, probably told them, okay, well, we don't need you. We'll create our own trophy and everything. It's you guys made a big mess of this, and look at all the backlash that you guys are causing yourselves. This isn't on us. This is on you guys. And you guys did a good job in 1999 getting the Shield finalized. And, MLS wasn't going to award teams for finishing with the best record. And that's why SSF became a thing. The Supporters Shield became a thing. And then they do all this stuff. And now MLS is like, okay, well, we like your idea. We respect teams finishing with the best record in MLS, and we're still going to give them Champions League berth, and they're still going to have the number 1 seed in MLS and other bonuses. But because you guys made yourselves look so bad, we're going to distance ourselves and remove anything Supporters Shield related on the website. And like I said, it leads to this new statement on October 19th. And you know these guys are getting hammered in their personal email. You know that we saw on social media that they were getting hammered. We saw that they turned off replies on Twitter because their Twitter was getting quoted, blown up, everything. And their notifications, whoever runs that Twitter account, yeah, I feel sorry for them because I'm sure their phone, wherever they have that Twitter account linked to, is just probably going ding, 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 just all day. Probably did not stop. And that person's like, yeah, why did I ever sign up for this job or something? And so it's just funny that the SSF is starting to backtrack because they keep getting more and more backlash. And the backlash started from fans, and then it started coming from former and current players, coaches, commentators around MLS. Like, what exactly did they expect to happen? And I think the head coach of Toronto FC, Greg Vanney, I think he said it best with a statement. My players are pissed. It's a huge sign of disrespect to the players. It has arguably been the most difficult season in the history of our league where people have put their health at risk to play and put games on television for fans. This season has required a huge commitment from all teams. People were genuinely afraid for their health. It is a disgraceful decision that delegitimizes the whole idea of the Shield, in our opinion. Those who made the decision are like kids in a park who take the ball away when the game isn't going their way. It's a childish and a symbol that they don't know how sports operates. I mean, what more can I say after that great statement by Greg Vanney of TFC? I mean, he's right. 5 people get together, don't include anybody else. They're like, yeah, our team's not in the playoffs, or our team's not going to make any noise in the playoffs. They're not fighting for the Shield. So we're not going to give away the Shield because the Union, Toronto, they're having a great season. Toronto, you know, who cares that they're playing in Connecticut and having a great season? That they have no fans there. So the record, how good they're playing, that doesn't matter. If fans were at the away games, it would be a different story. Yeah, really? It would be a different story because if I remember correctly, when COVID first started, the Philadelphia Union supporters started Zoom happy hour, which eventually led to fans going outside of Subaru Park cheering on the Philadelphia Union, even though they weren't allowed inside the stadium. And they were loud enough where Jim Curtin, the players, said, yeah, we can hear those guys, and we appreciate them coming out. If that's not being supporters, I don't know what is. And it's... I mean, you mean to tell me you think your organization, your foundation's bigger than the work that the players, the staff, the league has pulled off to have a 2020 season? You mean to tell me because most of the season fans weren't allowed in the attendance, that means people weren't paying attention to their team? Just because people are cheering on their teams from home, that doesn't count? That's not being a fan? Yeah, it's really baffling to me that they can make a decision like that, 5 people, when you come out and say, yeah, we're going to be slick and send a message on Slack where apparently there hadn't been a message in that Slack channel since July. And they're like, yeah, we'll pull a fast one and everything. So we had a meeting where people weren't getting notifications that this is what was discussed. So it's pretty shady in my opinion. And that's why this organization, SSF, that is why they're getting my blunder of the week. And it like there was a lot of chances to have blunder of the week for a whole bunch of different reasons. But when you have this organization come out and say, yeah, everything that the players have done, leaving their family, going down to Orlando for a month to have a tournament, yeah, all that stuff doesn't matter. That our organization, our foundation's bigger than what the league's doing, what the players are doing. Yeah, that's a problem. And I hope MLS, I would absolutely love to see MLS have nothing to do with SSF going forward. Create their own title. And, I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, it's just a piece of hardware and everything. But these guys are acting like they're bigger than the league. That whoever they support and everything, however they made this decision, they act like there wasn't other teams in the leagues that weren't still supporting their teams, trying to do their best to get support for this team. I mean, it's laughable. Like I said, it's baffling. It's whatever word you want to add to it. It's a disgrace. That's what it is. And I know Jim Curtin came out and said something last night in the Union's press conference after they beat New England. And I wish I had his quotes and everything, because I'm sure Jim wasn't happy. I know Ali came out on social media and wasn't happy. Like I said, there's a lot of former and current players that just unhappy with this decision. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if SSF comes out and backtracks completely and says, yeah, we've had a change of thought that we're actually going to award whoever finishes in first place with this trophy. Yeah, nobody cares. I feel like you guys have pissed off enough people where they don't care about your organization. Like myself, I literally just found out that this was a thing, and I care less about them. And yeah, it's cool to add a piece of trophy, hardware. And granted, the teams only get to have that in their cabinet for a year, and then it moves on. But yeah, it's just, I mean, this whole thing's just what a joke. So let's go on to happier news, though, which is, in case you guys missed it, which you guys obviously didn't, because we've all heard, the Union announced last Friday that they've agreed to the sale of Brenden Aaronson to RB Salzburg. Aaronson will be a Salzburg player in January of 2021. So the Union, they're receiving $6 million up front for Aaronson, plus an additional $3 million in performance incentives, which apparently are very, very achievable. So that could be $9 million right there for Brenden Aaronson. And then on top of all that, the Union get a 10 to 20% sell-on fee, which, if you guys have been listening ever since we started hearing the rumors about Brenden Aaronson potential being sold, I said, yeah, 4 to 4.5 million max. And then if we can get anywhere between a 10 to 20% sell-on clause, I'll be happy. I think that's great business. Here's Ernst Tanner getting $6 million for Brenden Aaronson, plus an additional $3 million for performance incentives, which, like I said, apparently are very, very achievable. So if that is the case, extra $3 million coming the Union's way. Not right away, it would be happening in a couple years and everything. And then on top of all that, they get 10 to 20% of a sell-on fee. And I think by the end of this, the Union could potentially make up to $12 to $15 million for Brenden Aaronson. I mean, it all depends on how much RB Salzburg eventually sell Brenden Aaronson for. So hopefully he goes and tears it up in Austria, where he goes and gets a move to a bigger club in Europe. But this is such a great move for Brenden Aaronson, because Salzburg, they're really good at developing young players. We've seen Mane, we've seen Naby Keita, we've seen Minamino, we've seen Holland, we've seen, I forget his name, the center back for RB Leipzig now, young French center back, I think he's 21 years old. They always buy young players. After a couple years, they sell them for sometimes double the price that they paid for the players. And I feel like a lot of times in Europe, especially a team that's playing in the Champions League, Salzburg, they're always playing in the Champions League. And if they get knocked out, then they're playing in the Europa League, but they're still playing European soccer competitions. And it's good for a player like Brenden Aaronson to experience that. And for them to actually trust young players, you don't see that a lot in Europe, especially teams, like I said, playing in the Champions League. This is great for Brenden Aaronson. He gets given the number 11 shirt. And if that doesn't tell you what RB Salzburg has in store for Brenden Aaronson, what they think of Brenden Aaronson, then I don't know what will convince you, because you don't get given the number 11 shirt if they don't plan to start you right away, if they don't have high expectations for you. A team's not going to pay $6 million for a guy who has just over 50 appearances in MLS, 7 goals, 5 assists. I mean, those numbers don't scream off the wall for you, but Brendan's so much more than the stats show and everything. His work off the ball. And Jesse Marsch, the head coach for Salzburg, came out and said, yeah, we know Brenden is playing as a 10 for the Union. We know that he can play in multiple roles. We know he's played in the 8, but we really see Brenden Aaronson as a number 10. And they're on a 2-10 set. And I think that's huge, that they don't want to change Brendan's spot, that they, just like the Union are using him as a number 10, they really believe that Brenden Aaronson can be a successful number 10 in Europe. Now, who knows when Brendan gets there, and maybe that changes and everything. But for Jesse Marsh to come out here, to hear the sporting director come out here and just have high praise for Brenden Aaronson, I think that speaks volumes of the player that he is. And yeah, it sucks losing Brenden Aaronson, but we knew it was going to happen, because when you spend millions of dollars on your academy, you want to see it be successful. You want to see it start to bring in returns, and those returns are unfortunately selling those players. But when you're selling those players to European teams, that tells you that the academy is working. It's producing players. All the millions of dollars that we invested in it, it was all worth it. And Brenden Aaronson knows it. He said it, I'm not going to be the last. Just because I'm the first doesn't mean that I'm the last homegrown player. There's going to be many more behind me. Ernst Tanner came out and said, yeah, there's going to be players right after Brenden Aaronson. Mark McKenzie could potentially be one of them. Yeah, Celtic are interested. And he said that reports of, I think it was $1.1 million Celtic apparently offered when? I think back in August or September. He said, yeah, we were never entertaining that offer. And I'm glad to hear it, because I think if Brenden went for $6 million, Mark McKenzie's 21 years old. So, yeah, that's still young and everything, but it's not 19 years old going to Europe. So, Mark McKenzie is a little bit older. And I could see Mark McKenzie definitely not going for $6 million or higher than that. But I can see Mark McKenzie going for $4 to $4.5 million. And that number would be higher, I think, if Mark wasn't 21 years old. But yeah, because he's 21 years old, and you got to figure whichever team buys him, it's not going to be one of these big European teams. It's going to be a mid-tier European team and everything. And if Mark does well, then that team's going to want to sell Mark later down the road. But when you're 21 years old, it's going to reduce your price a little bit. So hopefully whenever Mark goes, he produces well, and the Union can also get a sell-on clause for him. And yeah, then the money's going to really start to flow in. And I think a lot of people are looking at, $6 million up front for Brenden Aaronson. They're like, yes, all that money's going to go into a designated player signing for a striker or a number 10. And yeah, I'm sorry for being bad news, but that $6 million isn't going to go all towards transfers. It's going to be reinvested back into the academy. I can see $2 million, $3 million at most being applied back to transfers. This money's just going to be spread out, like I said, to the academy, with Union not making any profit, hardly any profit, with no fans in the attendance. They're going to use some of that money to just offset the losses they took this season. But that's fine. That's honestly fine, because if the Union do sell Mark McKenzie right after, then you add on however much the Union get from Mark McKenzie. Like I said 2 episodes ago, there's rumors that Kai Wagner, Sergio Santos could be on the way out. You add on the money you get from those 2 sales, the Union will definitely have some money to spend in the offseason on players. Not all that money is going to be reinvested into the academy. So I said on Twitter, when are we going to get an Ernst Tanner statue built? Because honestly, the work this guy's done in his short amount of time that he's been at the club has just been unbelievable. You can say Orvats is a miss. You can say Andrew Wooten's a miss. Marco Fabian's a miss. But other than that, he's hit on every single one of his signings. And I fully trust this guy. This guy was a top guy in the Red Bull system. He could have went someplace else in Europe and been a sporting director, but he was intrigued by coming to the Union, where I know he doesn't spend a lot of money. He was fascinated by the rules of MLS, seeing, okay, let's see if I can build something. And I guess the scary thing is, with Ernst having this much success in this short amount of time, how long until we start hearing rumors that some big club in Europe's come to approach the Union for Ernst Tanner? And I don't think Ernst would up and leave right away, because, like I said, I think he would have had a lot of opportunities in Europe before the Union. But, I can see Ernst Tanner drawing a lot of speculation going back to Europe if he continues to be successful here for the Union. And finally, like I said, just with Brenden Aaronson being 19 years old, his contract, by the time it ends in Salzburg, he'll be 24 years old, still not even at the prime of his career yet. And if he does well, takes his chances when Salzburg give him it, Man, I mean, the Union, like I said, could potentially make 12 to 15 million dollars total for the Brenden Aaronson deal. I feel like just depending on how much Salzburg sells him for, hopefully 20 million plus if Brenden plays well, because everybody loves attackers. Everybody loves somebody that can set up goals, has good vision, that's willing to play defense, and that's exactly what Brenden is. He's not going to score you a ton of goals. He's not going to get a ton of assists, even though he's playing as a number 10. But maybe Jesse March can change all that. Maybe he adds a couple more goals to his tally. Maybe he gets a lot more assists being in the Salzburg system. And if that's the case, then teams are going to look at Brenden and say, wow, look, his first couple seasons in Europe, let's pay him a couple extra $1 million. Let's pay them $20+ million. Let's pay $25 million. Let's get into a bidding war with another team, because when teams are fighting relegation, teams get desperate for a player that can create chances to help that team not getting relegated. So very, very, very much so looking forward to seeing Brenden succeed, but very happy that Brendan's here until the end of the season. And again, just great work by Ernst Tanner. So let's go ahead and talk about that New England Revolutions versus Philadelphia Union game, which we all know the Union won 2-1. And like I said, when I was doing the intro, obviously I did get my prediction wrong, and I'm okay with that. And that lineup, though, I did get it spot on, and I thought it was a really intriguing lineup. I mean, some people were surprised to see Jack Elliott play the number 6, but we've heard Jim Curtin allude that, we could potentially do this. We've heard him say, this is something we've tinkered with in training. Jack's played the number 6 at West Virginia before. He knows what it takes. We've seen Jack Elliott come off the bench, play the number 6 this season a couple times. So it's not like, this was Jack Elliott's first time ever playing the number 6. Now he's played it. But I think, if anything, I think it was really, really telling when Cole Turner made the bench over Ordwats. Who knows, honestly, what this kid's done, or maybe what he hasn't done in training. But just seeing Cole Turner make the bench of Ordwats, where this is Cole Turner's first full season with the Union. I think his second ever full season being a quote-unquote pro. Yes, I'm including the year he spent with Bethlehem Steel. But Ordwats was a player that was on the Golden Boy Award when he was over in Europe. Guy was playing for his youth national team in Slovakia. This guy had high expectations, and he's not seen a lick of time. And when Jim's had plenty of times to throw him out there for meaningless minutes just to see what he has, nope, won't throw him out there. And I mean, if this doesn't convince you that we won't see Ordwats at all this season, then I don't know what will. Ray Gaddis, happy seeing him out there. I know everybody thought Ray Gaddis was going to score a goal, and that would have been lovely if Ray would have scored a goal. But my 3 keys to victory that I said last episode, I said, 1, you got to control Buska. The Union did an excellent job controlling him, in my opinion. He really wasn't a threat at all in this game, in my opinion. He had a tough time going against Jacob Glesnes and Mark McKenzie. The dude was able to get 4 shots off in the game. He was seeing a lot of the ball, but wasn't doing anything to that. The Union were forcing him into bad positions. The Union were forcing him to take bad shots. He's normally good in the air. He only won 1 aerial duel this game. The Union, I mean, that's one thing I said last episode. They've done a really good job, no matter what team it is. They do a good job taking out the team's number 1 striker. It's always the players behind him, the guys out wide that sometimes they struggle with, or like I've said before, they struggle on set pieces. But Buska was not a factor at all in this game. In my opinion, I thought that the Union won the midfield battle. I said the Union, they've got to win the midfield battle. Jamiro Montero, he had 86% passing accuracy, and he had an assist. Fontana had 87% passing accuracy. Obviously, he had that goal, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And Jack Elliott, playing in that number 6, he had 6 tackles out of 9. He had 1 interception. His passing could have been a little bit better. I think in the second half, he settled into that role a lot better, because a lot of times we would see him just blast the ball to Casper or out to Brenden, and they'd take a heavy touch because yeah, Jack was putting a little bit too extra on that pass and everything. But once the second half started, I think he really settled into that number 6 role. And you can't discredit this team's pressing. And Brenden Aaronson, I mean, he's always a great guy that's going to press and do the dirty work. Anthony Fontana does the dirty work, whether it's at the number 10, at the number 8. Jamiro did the work. Jack Elliott, I gave you the stats. Yeah, I thought they did a really good job taking out Busca. They did a good job taking out McNamara. They did a good job taking out Caldwell. Yeah, Buchanan scored a goal this game, which was a fabulous goal. And it seems like every time that the Union take on the Revs, it seems like Tejan Buchanan's always causing problems with his speed. He's got a good shot on him. And he's a young Canadian, 21 years old. And if, for whatever reason, if you're a Revs fan listening to this podcast, I mean, you've got to be happy that Bruce is giving Tejan a chance. And this guy's making the most of his chances. I think a lot of Revs fans will tell you that as each week passes, he's playing with more and more confidence. But just to see the Union dominate in midfield, and I know you look at possession, the passing accuracy by some of these midfielders for New England. I know that those stats tell a different storyline, but I think, in my opinion, just the Union caused a lot of problems for the midfield, for the two guys out wide for New England. The passing from Jamiro, from Fontana, they were there, and that's why these two guys were involved in our goal, our game-winning goal. Another point, I thought, even though Tejan scored that great goal, I thought the defense was excellent all night. Even though, New England, they had, I think, 22 shots on the night. Brenden Aaronson had 5 block shots. Mark McKenzie, he had 4 block shots. Jack Elliott, Kai Wagner, they had 3 block shots. These guys aren't afraid to put the bodies on the line. They're not afraid to step in front of a shot and not allow the ball to go towards Andre Blake's net at all. And, it's so cliche, but you hear it all the time. Defense wins championships. And to have these guys have this kind of mentality where, okay, yeah, I'm not getting on the goal sheet. Maybe the assists aren't showing on the stat sheet, but I'll put my body on the line and everything, because whatever I can do to help this team win, I'm going to do it. And going back to Brenden Aaronson, just talking about his move to Salzburg, listening to all the podcasts and interviews he did with people involved with Salzburg. Yeah, this guy was like, I don't care where I play. I'll do whatever I can to help my team win. And you can tell with the Union that's been his mentality ever since he made his debut last year with the team. Andre Blake, he came out with 7 saves. Well, I guess the biggest save was against Lee Wynn, where beautiful free kick by Wynn, and somehow Andre Blake's just able to become Superman and save that one from top corner. Wynn couldn't have struck that any better, and if this was Andre Blake last year, it probably would have been a goal for New England. But Andre Blake's been definitely the Union's MVP of the season, and you can make a debate whether or not he's the MVP for all of MLS this year. I mean, this guy, if last year was your first time watching the Union and then you continue to watch him this year, you wouldn't even recognize Andre Blake. It's like, what changed? And I think probably a lot of that has to do with a new goalkeeping coach. And, Andre Blake seems healthy. He's playing with a lot of confidence, and especially having Jack Elliott, Mark McKenzie, Kai Wagner, and Ray Gaddis in front of you for a year, and now you're going into year 2. There's a lot of familiarity between those guys and Andre Blake. So Andre Blake just continues to impress us, and it's kind of sad too that we just come to expect those saves from Andre Blake, because he's been coming up huge all season for us. Anthony Fontana's goal, dude loves scoring against New England. What a cheeky goal! Chips it over Matt Turner. And hopefully we see him against Toronto. I have a feeling he's going to come off the bench, but anytime he gets a chance to start, he's scoring a goal, it seems like. Or he's getting in positions to score a goal. And the New England commentators, because I get their feed, obviously not living in Philadelphia, they're like, oh yeah, with Aaronson gone, Anthony Fontana's definitely going to have a spot in 2021 in this Union lineup. And yeah, it's probably true if the Union don't make a designated player signing for the midfield. But even if he doesn't start, it's a great option coming off the bench. It's a great option for us coming off the bench now. And when he starts, more times than not, he's taking his chances, whether it's all the time scoring goals. So, yeah, Anthony Fontana just, what a goal by Anthony. I thought Casper's handball was probably worse than Ali Bedoya's against DC United. Luckily, they never called the handball against the Union, which is just so crazy that the handball rule in this league, just worldwide, so inconsistent. It's like some refs know what it is, some don't. Some are like, hey, let's go look at VAR. Some of them are like, let's not. And like I said last episode too, I mean, at least the refs are more confident in using VAR in the league than they are in in the Premier League. And it's, I mean, like I said too, it's like 50% of the time the call goes for the Union, 50% of the time it goes against them. And this is one of the times where it went for us. When New England had every right to call for a handball, probably should have got a handball in my opinion. Just like they probably should have seen a red card for Jamiro Montero when he made a challenge when he was on the ground, tried to kick at, I forget who it was, the player he kicked at. Butner, I think it was. I think it was Butner. And I thought that would have been a second yellow card for Jamiro, but the ref lets it go somehow. And if I'm a New England fan, I'm going to be pretty upset because if Jamiro wasn't already on a yellow card, then yeah, the ref would have had no problem booking Jamiro. But yeah, the Union, I mean, they took their chances, and that's all you can ask. I have a couple good points I want to bring up. Number one, Cory Burke. It was great to see him back on the field. I thought his pass was slightly off. Could have put the Union up 3-1 when he tried to pass the ball to Brenden Aaronson. But the dude looks so happy to be back in Philadelphia. Looks so happy to finally be back on the field ever since June. I think it's the last time we played soccer in Austria. And he's going to be a threat coming off the bench for us. He's a physical striker. The first play, the first action we saw from Cory Burke, he fouls somebody. And that's the kind of player he is. And center backs, that they hate coming against strikers that are physical. That's their game. But not only is he a physical striker, he's got pace to him too. And we know we can put the ball in the back of the net, something Andrew Wooten seems like he can't do, which I'll get to that again in a little bit. But yeah, it was just nice to see Cory Burke back out there, and hopefully his fitness levels get better, because I wouldn't be surprised if we see Cory Burke start one of these last remaining games just to see, okay, one, let's stretch your fitness levels out, and two, let's see, okay, Sergio Casper, they're not getting us the goals right now. Let's see if you can change that for us, Cory Burke. So it was great to see Cory back out on the field for the Union. Point number two I'm going to bring up, 13 points on the road out of a possible 30. Now, that's not including MLS's back. And look, if you want to be a team going to the playoffs, if you want to be a team that's going to be up the top there for the MLS standings, you've got to get results on the road. And that's exactly what the Union have been able to do throughout most of this season. Whether it's draws, that's their third win on the road, not including MLS's back, like I said. And yeah, it sucks that DC couldn't have been a fourth win down there, but it is what it is. At least it came back, got a point. But, and yeah, now I'm just thinking about SSF, because they'd probably say, oh, well, those 13 points that the Union got on the road, they don't mean anything because there was no supporters in the stands for the opposition. Because if there were, the Union, they wouldn't have got these 13 points. So, oh man, just what a blunder of the week. No. I mean, we saw last year the Union weren't afraid to go on the road and get results. Did it in Toronto, not an easy place to do that at, in a hostile environment. Got all 3 points in Toronto last year. And you know what? Their stands were full. Just saying, SSF. And point number three, the Union, they were just able to close out the game. They had all this pressure coming at them from New England. That New England, they had a goal caught off for offsides. I think Buchanan did score that goal as well. And when New England's having most of the ball in your half, you get worried. And yeah, that was definitely worrying times for the Union. Just to see the last 10, 15 minutes, like I said, with Jamiro Montero, probably should have seen red. All the pressure on Andre Blake. Andre Blake comes out and makes a huge save on Lee Wynn. I mean, this is what teams that make deep runs in the playoffs do. They just find a way to grind out results, and even though they don't have a lot of the ball, even though they're absorbing the pressure in their half, that they find a way not to concede, and that's exactly what the Union did against New England. And then I have 4 bad points I want to bring up. Point number 1, just shoot the ball. I thought Brenden Aaronson had a couple chances where he should have just shot. Casper had a couple times, but then he wanted to cut it onto his left foot. It's like, yeah, stop taking too many touches. Just shoot the ball. Like, who knows what's going to happen? Just like Kai Wagner did. Sends in a cross, and it's an own goal for the Union's first goal. You never know what's going to happen. You don't know if the ball's going to deflect. You don't know if the ball's going to go out for a corner kick and you score off of that corner kick. You just don't know. And sometimes I feel like Casper, Aaronson, Sergio, those guys, they think too much. I know Anthony Fontana actually passed the ball where I thought, yeah, he's going to have a shot, and he passes the ball instead. And it's like, just shoot, guys. Honestly, just shoot the ball, because goalkeeping in MLS is suspect, even though Matt Turner is one of the best goalkeepers in MLS, in my opinion, and more times than not, he doesn't spill the ball, but you don't know until you try. So, yeah, that's really annoying, because this isn't like this was the first game where these guys weren't sure if they should shoot or not, because we've seen it so many times this season, and it's like, you guys know how to score, so just shoot. Point number 2, sloppy passes from Brenden Aaronson, Sergio Santos, and Elliott. Like I said, Jack Elliott in the second half of this game, I thought he grew into the game a lot more than he did in the first half. Brenden Aaronson wasn't his best game in my opinion, but you can't fault him for going back playing defense. A lot of times in the midfield for Brenden, his pass would be short. It would be to nobody. Sometimes when people would pass him the ball, it would be too short. So, yeah, it's the Union, I guess, even though I did say they won the midfield battle, they were lucky with some of the passes that Brenden were playing, that they didn't come back and hurt them. Sergio Santos only had 7 passes this game, or 7 attempted passes this game. That's not good enough. And I said it last episode, and I'll keep saying it. I mean, you've got to get your strikers more involved, and to only have Sergio have 7 pass attempts, it's just not good enough. And I know he made a couple of runs out to the left channel this game, a little bit more than what we've seen in the past, but still wasn't great enough in my opinion. I thought the yellow card there when Sergio was a little bit weak, and maybe getting that yellow card changed his game up and everything's like, okay, I'm on a tight rope. I've got to play a little bit more safer. Maybe that's what it did, but yeah, it's got to be better. We got to find ways to get these strikers more involved. Point number 3, just in my opinion, there's just no need to see Andrew Wooten anymore. I talked about it last episode. We know what he is, and I'm sure we'll probably see Andrew Wooten a couple more times this season, and I'll be here saying, oh, there's just no need to see Andrew Wooten anymore. We know what he is, but I guess Jim wanted to try out the Cory Burke and Andrew Wooten combination to see if there's anything there, and nah, Andrew Wooten, every time he comes on the field, just another body out there. He doesn't look like he's going to score a goal. Every time he gets himself in a good position, he has a terrible shot. So, yeah, I just, man, I don't want to see Andrew Wooten out there anymore unless we're desperate for attackers. We're chasing multiple goals. And then point number 4, I think my third point was the Union had to put the game away. And in my opinion, I think the Union took the foot off the gas. They only had 7 shots in this game, which is fine. That's their game plan. They wanted to hit New England on the counterattack. I respect it. I get it. But from the 70th minute until the end of the game, the Union, they only registered 2 shots, and both of those were from Jamir Montero's free kicks. And like I said earlier, the Union were lucky that VAR called off New England's second half goal, because that would have been a disaster to give up a goal and then a couple minutes later give up the second goal, because then all the momentum would have been on New England. I could have seen them pushing to get a third goal, but somehow they found a way to close out the game, and I guess saying, oh, the Union, they took the foot off the gas, but they did a good job to close out the game. I guess those 2 points are contradicting each other, but yeah, I would have liked to have seen the Union try to attack a little bit more, and maybe they were just confident in themselves to play defense, to just sit a little bit deeper back than what they were normally sitting, absorbing the pressure from New England. But, man, those 10, 15 minutes, they were definitely heart-wrenching and definitely enough to give somebody a heart attack. But I look forward to this Saturday's game against Toronto, biggest game of the season. You can argue a top 10 game in the club's history, because if they win this, they go into first place. If the Union win out, they'll finish first place in MLS, and who cares if there's no Shield? I don't care. As long as the Union get a championship spot, as long as they get bonuses, as long as they get that number 1 seed in the playoffs, they have home field advantage throughout the playoffs, I'm happy with it. But hopefully I can get somebody in from Toronto to preview this game. But if not, I'll give you guys another 10, 15-minute preview of what to expect from Toronto. But if you guys aren't following the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, follow @FreeKickPod. Go ahead and check out the website, thefreekick.com. Wherever you get your podcasts, The Free Kick, Todd Lewis. And yeah, let's hope that the Union can get 3 points against Toronto. I have no clue what's going to happen in that game yet, so maybe in a day or two after I look and see how Toronto played against Atlanta over the weekend, maybe I'll make my decision then. But until then, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.